So now that we finished our last activity about the nutrition facts label, we're going to move on to navigating the grocery store. So some tips to navigating the grocery store. A lot of people have heard these, but not a lot of people do them. So shopping the perimeter. The perimeter of the grocery store is where all of our fresh produce is. It's where our meats are. It's where some of those healthier, less processed food items tend to be. Reading food labels. We just went over how to read those nutrition facts labels on food products. So definitely putting that education to good use in the grocery store. Using coupons and using the circulars. So these are great ways to save money, especially on our healthier food items that a lot of people do struggle sometimes to afford. So we'll talk more about using the circulars in our activity for this section, but using those circulars to see what's on sale, using coupons that come in the grocery stores, circulars, and then also coupons that come on apps now. A lot of people are very phone savvy and use these coupon apps for everything. So the grocery store is no exception to that. Buying local or in season. Food items are cheaper when they're local and when they're in season. They don't have to travel all the way to us from other places around the country. So really finding those local in season food items is a great way to save money and still get some healthy, fresh, good quality stuff. Buying in bulk when on sale and freezing. Making shopping lists and sticking to it. This is super important to reduce impulse buying. So making your shopping list ahead of time when you're not hungry and when you're able to really meal plan and pick some good stuff. And then when you get to the grocery store, you stick to it and you only buy what's on that list. You resist the urge to impulse buy no matter what's on sale, no matter what's on the end caps, what looks tempting, none of it. You just only what's on the list. Using a smaller cart can help too. So as you see in the picture, these little hand carts can be really great. If you're just going in to get stuff for one meal, using the hand cart instead of the big shopping cart can be great because you're only going to get what you can fit in that cart. So it's hard to get carried away. Whereas if you have the big shopping cart, it's easy to just start throwing things into it. Not going to the grocery store hungry. A lot of people have heard this one before. Don't go hungry because then everything looks good. And the willpower goes really downhill once we're starving and needing to eat. And then planning your meals in advance. So along the same lines of having the grocery list, planning those meals in advance so you're getting all the ingredients you need so it limits your having to go back to the grocery store. It limits you having to run in and just grab something, which ends up turning into one thing becomes 5 things, 4 of which you didn't really need or want, but looked good at the time. So really planning those meals in advance can keep a lot of structure. It also helps just in general in your household to be able to know, okay, this food is being eaten for this meal, so things aren't going to waste. Looking at budget-friendly healthy foods, specifically, we have foods like canned tuna, chicken, beans, rice, especially brown rice for good quality fibers. We talked about the whole grains before. Eggs, frozen fruits and vegetables, whole wheat bread, peanut butter, low-fat yogurt, low-fat milk. All of these things are really budget-friendly, healthy foods. They last a while, they are cheap, and they can go a long way feeding your family for more than just one meal. And then water I added on there too, because we think about how much money do you spend on juices, sodas, beverages in the grocery store, when in reality, all our body really needs is water, and we can get that right from our sink. So whether it be just from the sink, if you have good quality water, or maybe using like a Brita filter or something like that to filter it out a little bit. But we can do this really without spending any money, which is nice versus buying sodas and juices in the store and then spending some of our very tight food budget on those items. So our next activity, activity number 3, we're going to practice this grocery shopping tactic. We're going to look for healthy and inexpensive meals. So in front of you, you all have a copy of a local grocery store circular. Everybody's are different. So I want you to go through these circular items, and you have scissors as well. I want you to go through and just look at the prices, look at the food items, and start cutting out foods that look healthy. You're going to try and make 2 meals with this. So cut out the food items that look like healthy components to a meal, cut out the prices or write the prices on there as well. And then you also have some blank paper in front of you that you're just going to kind of lay these out on and meal plan on. So I want you to come up with 2 separate meals, doesn't matter which meal they are. 2 separate meals, and then come up with the total cost of those meals based on the prices you're seeing in the circulars. The goal is to obviously have something that's less expensive, but something that's still healthy and good quality. And I think this activity is really going to help you see that if you're planning ahead, if you're looking at circulars, if you're being pretty savvy, you can find foods that are going to feed your family on a budget and that are still healthy for you. So go ahead and take some time to do this activity. We'll take about 10 minutes or so with this, and then share with your neighbor next to you again once you're completed. Now that we're finished with our grocery store project there, I hope that you all were able to see that it is possible to make some healthy meals for you and your family on a budget. So we're also going to talk now about just some general easy strategies to lose weight and eat healthier. Because in addition to knowing the food choices, a lot of times the behaviors are something that also needs some modification. We get into habits, we get into ruts, we start doing things and don't even realize why or how we're doing them or where they came from. So focusing on the actual pattern of eating and the behaviors around eating can also make a big difference in weight loss and just weight management. So some of the activities. Cutting out caloric beverages. We talked about this just before in a way to save money, but also this can be a way to save calories and lose weight as well. So cutting out food item or drink items like soda, juice, energy drinks, things we don't really need, but we're spending extra money and extra calories on. Replace these with water. If you're someone that doesn't care for plain water, I completely understand. It's not for everybody, but also then try flavored waters or infused waters. Flavored waters, you can use things like Crystal Light or Mio. Those are things that are in the grocery store to give water a little bit of flavor without really adding a lot of extra sugar or calories. You can also try homemade infused water. A lot of people will do this at home. They'll buy fresh fruit such as fresh berries, sliced oranges, lemons, limes, mint, cucumber, and they'll soak it in the water in a pitcher in the fridge. And this gives the water a great flavor, but also not adding extra calories, not adding extra money. Eating small meals more often. So instead of eating 2 to 3 large meals a day, we should be eating 5 to 6 small meals daily. These don't have to be full meals per se. It can be something like a snack, but really that pattern of eating often is extremely important for weight management and keeping the metabolism going. Packing snacks and water when we're traveling or running errands, so not going too long without eating in this stretch as well, but also having some planned and healthy stuff with you, so if you get hungry when you're out and about, you're not tempted then to stop for something to eat. You already have something. Tracking your food choices. So there's lots of apps out there like MyFitnessPal, for instance, where you can track food, track calories, track nutrients if you're watching other things like carbs or sodium. These are great because they really draw your attention to what you're actually doing, what you're eating, how much it's adding up to. And a lot of times just the knowledge and understanding of this can really help motivate people to do a little bit better with it. We talked about the eating often already. So again, it helps not only keep you full, but also reduces cravings. So you don't get to that point where you're ravenous and ready to eat anything. And avoiding empty calories. We already talked about the drinks, but also high sugar coffee drinks is another source of empty calories that's extremely common right now. Going to Dunkin' Donuts and getting a mochaccino or something along those lines. Most people don't even realize those have hundreds of calories in them, even though they're just a drink. Concentrated sweets, condiments, and oils and butters can be another great way to cut down on calories and cut down on some of the unnecessary fats and sugars that come into our diet on a daily basis that we don't really need. Measuring portion sizes. We talked about using the MyPlate already, and hopefully everyone is feeling very comfortable with that. The portion sizes really matter. So even just reducing portions of some of our high calorie, high carb, high fat, high sugar items can make a big difference in weight. Drinking a glass of water before each meal. This is a great way to pre-fill the stomach, make it feel a little more full from our food, but also incorporate the water in, which a lot of people do struggle with. This structures it into a pattern for you. Using smaller plates. Sometimes it is just an eye thing, a visual thing. So if we use smaller plates, we can sometimes be satisfied with less food versus using bigger plates and feeling like we needed to fill the whole plate and then eat it all. Packing lunches and snacks for work, so making sure you have, again, those healthy foods with you so you're not tempted to look elsewhere for foods or going too long without eating and then it backfires on you later. Meal planning for dinners, so making sure that you know what's happening for the week, have a plan of attack so it's not left up in the air when you're getting out of work, you've had a long day, you're exhausted, you're tired, the kids are cranky, and then suddenly you're just going through the drive-thru. If you know what you're having at home, it's much easier to go home, prepare it, cook it, or maybe it's already cooked or prepared and heat it up versus stop out. Modifying recipes. If you have certain family recipes that you just love, using less sugar in them, less oils, less butters than the recipe calls for, making some substitutions perhaps and using applesauce instead of the oil. Some of those can make big differences when it comes to saving calories and still having all the foods that you really still like. And then modifying at restaurants, which we'll talk a little bit more detail about in a future slide. This slide's a little bit just of a cheat sheet for you on portion sizes. You all do have a copy of these slides to take home with you. So this is a great way to kind of just estimate what portion sizes are if you're not quite sure and you need to visualize it. So for instance, deck of cards we talked about being 3 ounces, but also looking now at 2 tablespoons is about the size of a ping pong ball, half a cup is an ice cream scoop, and so on. Fast food. So limiting fast food is a great way to reduce weight and reduce a lot of the risk factors for some of the diseases that we talked about. But it's not an easy thing to do. And a lot of people, fast food is cheap and it's convenient. And I suppose it tastes good too at times. So really cutting back on this is important. Americans spend over 50% of their monthly food budget on takeout or fast food, which is a huge amount. Families that frequent in fast food restaurants, some studies show that if they go at least once per week, it's associated with higher BMIs, which is your body mass index, and higher weights in parents and children versus families that did not go to fast food restaurants. So it really can show there's a direct correlation between eating fast food and having a higher weight. Some ways to decrease fast food intake: taking a different route to avoid fast food restaurants. So if you drive home every day past the fast food restaurant, making sure that you're maybe taking a different road or a back street instead, so that you're not even getting tempted to turn in there if you happen to get stopped at the stoplight right outside of it. Looking online for nutrition facts info and picking lower calorie options. So all chain restaurants and fast food restaurants have their nutrition facts available online if you look for them. So this can be a great way if you know you're going to go anyway, maybe just going online, finding some healthier options at those places that you do frequent, and that would be a better way to go about it. Choosing water instead of soda. Choosing a size down from your usual. So if you always go and get a large fry, maybe going and get medium fries instead. Having snacks in the water in the car so you're not feeling like you need to stop on the way home. We talked about this strategy earlier, but this is still a great strategy for this as well, because if you have something in the car, you're less likely to stop. Making coffee at home to avoid temptation of fast food when you stop for coffee out. So if you go to Dunkin' Donuts every morning for coffee, and then when you're there getting your coffee loaded with cream and sugar, you also think, well, I'm here, I should probably get an egg sandwich, or I should probably get a donut because I need something to eat too. If you make the coffee at home, 1, it's going to save you money. But 2, it's also going to avoid the temptation of having something higher sugar than just the coffee itself, and also avoid having to decide and kind of have the willpower to avoid those delicious looking food items that are right there in front of you when you're there. And keeping your purse or wallet out of reach in the car can be helpful too. If you think about it, if you have to go into your trunk to get your wallet every time you go through a drive-thru, you're not going to bother going through the drive-thru. But if it's right there next to you on the seat, it's much easier to just reach over and pay for things. So now we're back to our restaurant strategies. Asking the server for no butter, no oil, no salt on your meal is a great way to cut down. Asking for dressings and sauces on the side, cutting portions in half and taking the other half home or splitting it with the person that you're dining with. Starting off with a salad, dressing on the side, or broth-based soup instead of doing the bread or the fried appetizers that typically come to the table. Choosing grilled, baked, broiled protein sources instead of fried or sauteed items. These will have less fat. Substitute vegetables for the starch. So instead of doing potato, doing a double vegetable instead. Watching out for those extras that come with the meal times, desserts, appetizers, cocktails, sodas, all those things that contribute extra calories in addition to just the meal itself. And then previewing the menu ahead of time and planning your meal order. So along the lines of what we were talking about with the fast food restaurants, looking online at the menus, if they have nutrition facts, paying attention to those. But if they don't, just picking an item that you think might be generally more healthful, and that's what you order when you go to the restaurant. Instead of waiting till you get there, you're hungry, everything smells so good, and then maybe you're not making the best choice. And the last topic we're going to talk about today is ways to include physical activity. So some things we can do. We know exercise really helps increase our calorie burn and helps us with weight management and weight loss, but taking the stairs, parking farther away, taking the long way around the store, like doing laps in the grocery store, squats or stretching at your desk or couch during commercials. Walking groups or social gatherings can be a great way to do it too. Have a walking date with your friends when you go out and grab coffee and stroll around instead of going to a restaurant, sitting down and just eating. And also baby your soup can exercises. Use your soup cans as a way to get some extra physical activity in. And we'll demonstrate some of those coming up.